Well, welcome back to Gen Show. Today on this special edition of Gen Show, this is a special day because of what's going on in Africa. Again, my name is Malik Linzanzo.
I'm Gustavo Vela.
So, Gustavo, this is kind of a different kind of show we're having today, knowing the circumstances that are going on in Africa. We do have a situation, military coup.
Yeah.
In a Equatorial, no, no, not Equatorial Guinea,
Yeah.
in a Guinea Conakry.
Yeah. Freudian slip.
Absolutely. So the reason why this is very important because you happen to come from another Guinea, Equatorial Guinea,
Yes.
and there is some kind of a confusion right there. Can you clear up a little bit about that?
And first of all, it's a pleasure to be here in person and finally
person,
live.
yeah.
We decided that this was such an important show.
Occasion.
We needed to be here in person. So, as you know, Equatorial Guinea is located on the central western coast of Africa, and Guinea Conakry, is located up in the as the western part, but higher up. It's amazing right now, and I think the best way to describe this is that sub-Saharan Africa is experiencing its form of the Arab Spring.
You think so?
I believe so. You look at the same trends that that happened in the Arab Spring about 15 years ago. I think what's happened, Malik, is that people have grown tired and weary of despots, of military rulers, of strongmen who actually turn out to be straw men and weak men when presented with military officials at the door who want them to leave. So I am cautiously watching the trend that seems to be happening right now in Africa, particularly West Africa, and I would be very concerned if I was a dictator.
But you mentioned people being tired. Here's what I don't understand. Why is that those leaders don't get tired? They're frail, they're weak, physically. I'm talking about. I mean, after two mandates, why do you have to have a third one?
Yeah. I think what happens is that
It's greed.
It's greed, but they also think about the neighbors, the people around them, right? The younger folks who realize that if this person's gone, that revenue stream's gone. Most of these leaders, I think, are probably just figureheads. They're almost like fossils. And in many ways, their mentality and the way they do business is anachronistic. That is from a time long ago. 21st century Africans, 21st century youth, and 21st century individuals like you and I who are educated in the States aren't going to allow this kind of nonsense to take place. So I think that this is a warning shot across the bow throughout all of Africa that we're coming for you next. We don't really sanction coup d'etats, violent, but when you take these extrajudicial measures, extra constitutional measures, people are enough. And as you see, they're looting in Cameroon and Gabon. They're looting embassies. And so the embassies, which are sovereign territory. So I say to my brothers and sisters in Gabon, my brothers and sisters in Equatorial Guinea, help is on the way.
Absolutely. Help is on the way. And we mean what we say and we say what we mean. Help is on the way. And of course, like my brother says, and partner and co-host say that I mean this might be a version of Arab Spring.
Yeah.
This might be a West African spring.
Exactly, sub-Saharan African. Yeah. And I think that those of us like you and I and many others out there, remember, no man is an island, even an island like Malabo
is an island.
We need to realize and shore up this opportunity to force other people who are not reservoirs of intellectual opportunity.
Right.
These dictators don't have a monopoly. They're just use this as a way to plunder the national treasury and do so in a way that does harm, irreparable harm to his people. Tito Reno was recently released from Italy. He was in custody. They took his boat. He's back home. It's okay. They took his yacht, but hopefully at some point people want to take other things.
What we are asking from our allies and friends is it's no longer just custody.
Yeah.
We want change.
Yes.
We really want change.
We do.
And as a matter of fact, this third term phenomenon is something we have to keep our eyes on because when Mr. Condé started with this nonsense called third term mandate, in Cote d'Ivoire, the president step up to that.
Yeah.
And before you know it, even the Yasembe's son
yeah.
also So we have to watch all those son of a president
Yeah.
that think they can just stay in power forever.
Yeah.
And for our friend and ally here in the United States, we go to war across our oceans just to, make sure that people, to free people,
Yes.
and to make sure that this world is ruled under democratic, principles.
Yes.
So can we, at this moment, really bring attention to our friends in the United States to say, the time is now.
Yeah.
The people need their help.
And what else? I'll be more pointed. Yes. So I'm looking straight to the camera and asking President of the United States Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
The African continent is screaming and pleading for your help. Will it be abandoned? I hope not, because you have 2 African men and an army of African American men and women in country who helped get you elected into office.
Yes.
So let's get this record straight.
And the reason why we did that, because we believe in those principles of democracy.
The freedom of speech, democracy, rule of law, good governance. Remember, the elections are coming up, and Africans and African Americans will remember what was done and not done.
Yes.
This isn't a threat. This is just a fact.
It's a fact.
And we want to make sure that facts matter, not alternative facts.
Absolutely. We're not living alternative facts. That's probably our friends from across the aisle.
Yes.
But we don't believe in alternative.
We don't. We believe in concrete realities.
And the people of Guinea deserve better.
Yes.
African people deserve better. We are saying no to any possibility of third terms in office.
Exactly.
That's abuse it. And when you look at a country like Guinea, Conakry, it's the fifth rich when it comes to mineral rich country, but it's one of the most poor country on earth.
What I'm so tired about, Malik, is I'm tired of these countries which have so much potential, so many minerals, and it's concentrated in a group of bandits, kleptocrats. And so what I'm saying is that I am calling upon the International Criminal Court, the International Court of Justice, Interpol to begin to issue red alerts for all officials in Conakry, as well as officials in the Republic of Equatorial Guinea with regard to the boat that was seized in Italy. There are bandits who are running around freely committing crimes, and no one is above the law. Donald Trump wasn't above the law, and I'm sure that Teodoro Obiang is not above or below the law.
If we can hold Donald Trump, the most powerful president on earth, accountable for his action. Now, why is that Mr. Teodoro Obiang think is better than Mr. Trump?
You know what they'll say? The argument is, well, we have an African form of law, jurisprudence. That's BS. The reality is that these guys are criminals. They don't care about their people, and they don't care actually what the world. Actually, I would say they do care about what the world community thinks, because I know that there were sanctions placed upon many Equatorial Guinea officials who cannot travel in country, as was the case with Teodoro, who was banned by England in terms of traveling. So African lives matter. And more importantly, African American votes matter. And we'll remember in 2022 and 2024, the actions of this administration's or inactions. It's time for Africa to be on the agenda. And I call upon the Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken. I call upon the CIA Director, William Burns. I call upon Lloyd Austin, Secretary of Defense, and more importantly, the decision maker and person in chief, Joseph R. Biden, who has a strong history with regard to foreign policy in his former capacity as a U.S. Senator. And it's time for Africa and African lives to be on the table as opposed to in the back kitchen.
Absolutely, the time is now. There's no turning back. And as we know, we respect this part of the country being the country that always go forward. We cannot accept going backward anymore. African people have suffered so much historically speaking, and then after those colonization and all the slavery going on, then now they have to suffer under their own rulers,
which is worse.
Which is absolutely worse. I agree. Which is worse. And the good news is this time around, the people are not. They're not going to let themselves continue to be mistreated in this way.
And I'm going to encourage anyone watching this platform, Gain TV platform, which has been put together by Malik and his wonderful team. I urge all Africans from their national capitals to begin to peacefully protest. Do not bring arms. Protest and exert your right to have your voice heard. Don't be afraid. The world is watching. The world will protect you. And we call upon all leaders to exercise restraint. Should there be one more drop of innocent African blood shed simply in trying to express their will to vote, express their desire to assemble freely. If that is a crime in the 21st century, then those who perpetrate those crimes, the dictators, are themselves guilty of genocide.
Absolutely.
Political genocide.
Totally agree with you. And what I wanted to do is just to give some of our friends and allies here in the United States and around the world, to give them a little background on this country, what's going on here. And, thank God we always get some help from our 3D digital reporter.
We love him.
Yeah, we love him. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna get some help from him so they can give us a little bit of background on what this country called Equatorial Guinea
or Guinea-Conakry, which is close to.
To seize power in a coup on Sunday, arresting President Alpha Condé, is an impoverished West African country despite a wealth of natural resources. Authoritarian regimes. The former French colony is the only francophone state on the continent to have rejected in 1958 the Franco-African community proposed by then French President Charles de Gaulle.
Now, right there you see the historic. This is a country that actually said no to de Gaulle.
They're defiant.
They're defiant. Back then, they have leaders that were able to say, you know what, we're not gonna have this kind of a independence with a string attached.
Yeah.
They wanted to self-determine themselves.
Yeah.
That was a good beginning.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, the country just go from that position of
shambles.
And
I think what happens, Malik, and is a great point, and we thank our roving reporter for doing that. Self-determination is something that I think is part of the human spirit.
Right.
And I think I applaud those folks for standing up to Charles de Gaulle. I applaud Spain, Equatorial Guineans, including my father, standing up to Spain. At some point, though, the pattern of dictatorship, kleptocracy, and a new form of colonialism, I'm going to call it dictatorial colonialism, is now infected and invaded the continent, and we need to get rid of that pandemic of dictatorial colonialism.
The cleanup is needed, and this is the 21st century. Enough is enough. We have to do something about this.
Instead, the country plumped for independence and installed a socialist regime which Ahmed Sékou Touré would go on to rule with an iron fist for a quarter of a century.
Now, here's somebody, Sékou Touré, somebody with charismatic leaders that stood up to France. As a matter of fact, they have to pay a heavy price for him to take that position. We want to self-determination, which is a good thing. But guess what happened? He just turned himself to be one of the most shameful leader, because he's starting to put almost everybody in jail. Everybody that stood up to him, put them in jail
or
killed them.
Yeah.
So
it seems to be the pattern, and I'm wondering why so many African leaders are threatened by intellectuals, are threatened by those individuals who want to do better.
Democracy itself.
Yeah, democracy. Democracy has been hijacked on the African continent, but it's time for us to free those who've been hijacked and do what we can by shoring up our supporters here in the U.S., Europe, and even parts of Asia. We are ready, and as I've said before, help is on the way, my friends. Rest assured, we are there already, and we will surface. And when we surface to come for air, beware. When we surface, just like the submarines, when they're quiet and silent, when we surface and come up to air, watch what happens. And once again, I warned the leadership of Equatorial Guinea, Teodoro Bang, his government, Teodoro Biogo, his vice president's son, Gabriel, the Minister of Mines and Hydrocarbons. All of these guys are thieves, and they shall be held accountable, I promise.
Listen, today, today is it's a special honor. We usually do start with American politics, and then we do international politics. But for some reason, not for some reason, we all know the coup That is a major event. That's why we're breaking this news to people who are still not aware of what's going on in Conakry, Guinea Conakry. And to the credit of Mr. Mbella, that trying to always make sure that people understand that that is not an isolated issue. What's going on in Guinea Conakry is not isolated.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of countries that really need cleanup, and we expect, as we don't like coup d'état, but it seems to me that when the people are fed up or oppressed, at one point, military people have to step in and do the work.
In Spanish, they call it demasiado.
Yeah.
Enough.
Yeah.
Enough is enough. And the question is, how long do these dictators, these despots, these strongmen who are really cowards with spines made of sand, how long do you think that people allow them to be abused, to be taken advantage? Everyone has a breaking point, and thank God you and I are alive to see this breaking point take place.
And it's going
real
to continue
time
to break,
and it's going to spread like a wildfire, even more contagious than the wildfires that we see, unfortunately, on the western coast of the United States. There's now a political wildfire taking place on the western coast of Africa, and we welcome it. And if necessary, we will throw gas upon it in a way that's calculated and focused, because we do not want any collateral damage. And we don't even want harm to come to these dictators. They just need to leave and let us clean up the mess.
I do like the fact that, on this image here, see Martian Bowman, which is our 3D reporter. He has this man here sitting like a regular guy.
At a bar. He's like at a bar waiting for his drink.
So that is it shows the professionalism of these military men. They didn't kill him. They just want to kick his behind out of the office. Enough is enough. And you remember what President Obama said, Africa don't need no strong men.
Yes. They need strong leaders. He said before students, and there was a great African Union speaker. I remember, I wasn't sure if it was the African Union, but he spoke to a group of young students who want to and thirst for the need to want to lead.
Absolutely.
There's so many, we talk about Nelson Mandela, but where are the Nelson Mandelas of this era, of our generation? We are young. I'm 53. And so I remember hearing about Nelson Mandela. I remember my father talking about other leaders, but it's time for our generation to step up, and it's time for us to get rid of these dictators. So I call upon all African despots. I don't care if you're Paul Kagame. I don't care anyone who's been in office for longer than 15 years.
After two terms, it's
enough. How much more? You saw what happened. Even if we remove ourselves from the African continent, look what happened in Afghanistan. That guy wasn't there for more than 2 or 3 years, and he stole $170 million.
You mentioned Kagame. One of his excuse is always the people. What if the people decide? I don't think there's, in this modern time, there's no people that are gonna want the leaders to stay in power forever in a democratic country. And guess what? Here in the United States, when you see what President Clinton did, it was the awesome president when it comes to the economics speaking in this country. He did an awesome job.
He did.
When he left the office, this country was in a better place economically speaking.
We had prosperity, and we're
but did Clinton say, you know what? Because I've done beautifully economically, I'm gonna have a third term.
Fortunately, we have a checks and balances here. We have a constitution, and the other argument is also going to be, Malik, that our countries are only 50 or 60 or 70 years in. Well, how long are you going to use that excuse? At some point, you have to make conscious decisions that we're going to honor our word. We're going to honor the sanctity of our constitutions and the sanctity of the oath of the people who have put us in the office. And we don't need to continue to buy mansions, to go on shopping sprees, to get cars when people don't have clean water. They don't have hospitals. They don't have food. They don't have jobs. So I'm on the side of the people on the continent of Africa who are rising up. You have an ally in Gustavo and Malik, and we will always cover your story.
So let me ask you, this is a simple question. You mentioned clean water, something as simple as clean water. Now, your country and mine, if there was no colonization, that would be almost one country.
Yes.
When you look, when it comes to water, when you see Gabon and Equatorial Guinea, it looks like an island. Water everywhere. How can you explain I'm not even talking. I'm not even going to talk about the mineral rich. I'm talking about just water.
Yeah.
Water. You have water everywhere, but people cannot get access to clean water.
People are drowning in filthy water. Dysentery. All these are, and so, but the dirty water is there because you have dirty politicians.
Absolutely.
And so what we want to do is we want to clean the slate.
Yeah.
We want to have a tabula rasa, and I call upon the Republic of Equatorial Guinea, the people, all of our opposition people, internally and externally, to begin to apply pressure. And we once again call upon Teodoro Obiang. There is a Portugal agreement that you have agreed to in principle, and we encourage you to sign it. Stop being a coward. Stop using excuses. You're an old man who's resorted to old tricks, and your son, Teodorino, has no opportunity to become president. The reason he became vice president is because of his criminality, and Daddy put him in a position because he was the Minister of Agriculture and Timber, and he didn't want his son to go to jail, so he felt that by putting him in the position of vice president, he'd be immune. But those days are over, and I'm telling you, President Obiang, you've got to stop doing this. So if it can happen in Conakry, it can happen in Malabo.
No, this is not. This is not no longer even.
It's a trend.
It's a trend, and we're gonna make sure we push that trend forward, and that's a promise. That's a promise. We're gonna make sure we put that trend forward. You know, Gustavo. Well, one of the things that we have to make clear here is that you know, we can no longer be comfortable with this kind of practices.
The status quo is not acceptable anymore.
Not acceptable.
Dictators in Africa are not acceptable. It's nothing where, but it's also important that the enablers, American lobbyists,
Yes,
multinationals who they want to keep these ignorant people in power, know that. It's much more comfortable to deal with a known quantity of a dictator
right,
than a unknown quantity of someone who probably is a democracy advocate.
absolutely.
And so we call upon the multinationals. You have corporate governance rules and fines that can be levied. Please, let's work together. There's plenty of assets to go around. It doesn't have to be a situation where countries like Equatorial Guinea get 50% and the oil companies get 85% in the 21st century.
My thing is, it won't be that beautiful for those multinational companies that go around and do business with despots. Would you be happy to do business in a very open and clean way, and especially here in America? We know this country do not tolerate corruptions.
Yeah.
So just because you're outside this country doing business, we have to warn you. We are watching.
We're watching
closely.
And just know we have no problem publishing documents.
Yes.
We have no problem revealing secrets in a way that's legal. And we have many, many journalist friends who are embedded in countries throughout Africa, waiting just with the click of a button, send, which will expose the dirty truths.
Right.
Please, gentlemen and women of the United States of America, Europe, and Asia, let's stop this trend of supporting dictators. There's nothing to be afraid of democracy. It's worked in other parts of the world. Why has the quote-unquote dark continent been sheltered from the light of democracy, freedom of speech, good governance, civil society? Malik and I are literally brothers. Our country would have been one country, but the Berlin Conference and other things, people came in and they divided and conquered. But the days of conquering are over. There's a new generation of intelligentsia. Malik and I are just two faces of an ocean of faces, getting ready to roll up our sleeves and go to work. And we're going to go to work regardless of dictators trying to hold us back.
So one of the things that we also have to, really demand.
Demand.
Yeah,
we can demand this.
We have to demand to our friends, because they know what we've been doing, and in order to help them to be in position they are. What we want from them is to support the people, because what happened is that often people scared to stand up because they are scared of these dictators, because they always have, I do like what did happen in Libya.
Yeah.
In Libya, the international coalition, America, did not accept Gaddafi to kill his own people.
Yeah.
But can we have that kind of commitment, in sub-Saharan Africa?
I believe that with proper elucidation of the facts, when presented with the national security interest of having these unstable countries in Africa pose a grave national security threat to the interest of the U.S. That's why even Equatorial Guinea, they closed down the embassy in Malabo for a number of years when Obiang was going crazy. It's when oil became bountiful that the oil companies were the ones that convinced the administration, I think it was the Bush administration at the time, to say, hey, listen, we need to have eyes and ears on the ground. But make no mistake, those of us who are in the know, and there are a lot of us in the know that what's gone on for decades, in some cases centuries, is an egregious act, and it's a crime against humanity, and it's a crime against the civilians on the continent of Africa.
Absolutely.
Under his rule, some 50,000 people were killed or simply disappeared, according to human rights organizations. Guinea has spent decades under authoritarian or dictatorial regimes, starting with Sékou Touré, followed by Lansana Conté, who died in 2008. A military junta under Captain Moussa Dadis Camara then took over in a bloodless coup. On September 28, 2009, security forces massacred 157 people at a rally gathering tens of thousands of opposition supporters in Conakry protesting Camara's expected participation in the next presidential election, while 109 women were raped, according to UN sources. Democratic Transition On November 7, 2010, longtime opposition mainstay Alpha Condé became the first freely elected president in Guinea's history. He was re-elected in 2015 for a second term after a poll marred by violence and amid accusations of fraud. Condé's standing for a third term.
Now let's talk about fraud for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in a recent decade or two decade or so, it seems to me that each election is all that end up with a massive fraud.
Mm-hmm. Voting irregularities, unfree, unfair, and untransparent elections.
But
and
not only that, those people who come to power in a very troublesome way, they end up trying to stay even longer after the constitution of this, respective countries say, you know what, you only only be president for 2 terms. And they are finding a way to change the constitution just to stay in power.
What they do is they have their legislative folks who they pay their low money to, and all these guys, they're not interested in governing. They're interested in what title can they get so they can get their next shopping spree at Harrods in London, or the Champs-Élysées in Paris, or Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills. But I'm going to strongly encourage that the United States Congress, the Senate, the House, that they begin to pass stiff legislation that all African dictators, their sons, their daughters, their government officials be restricted travel into the United States of America. If they can restrict people who are born here and kick them out because of immigration laws, why can't they do the same thing with people who are true foreigners, who are poisonous and treacherous of other people? So I'm calling upon President Biden, Kamala Harris, and Speaker Pelosi and Kevin McCarthy, pass African legislation that does not allow African dictators to repatriate their funds in the U.S. And we will freeze their funds.
There's some effort doing that. I just have to double check on it, but I know there's been an effort of freezing the asset of these people, and they know, because the work that we've been doing, that you no longer can bring money in America without you justifying. If you're a government official, you have to justify how you get your money. And part of the one thing that I wanted to add to this is people have to understand that there's something called citizen lobbying.
Yes.
You don't have to be a big
lobbyist.
a big time lobby firm in DC. A citizen can lobby his government, and this is what we're going to be doing. To lobby the government of the United States to make sure that this kind of misbehavior stop.
And we begin to protest and publish the names. For a while, the lobbying firms, Lanny Davis, we got him out. Corvus Communications, they're now still there. Cassian Associates. There are a bunch of lobbyists, American lobbyists, and who are continuing to do business. I think Squire Pat Boggs is another firm. And so all these guys, they deal with criminals, and they try to do so and justifying, well, these folks are just trying to whitewash and democracy. It's not the case at all.
It's not the case.
These guys are taking the money of dirty money, blood money, and wanting to justify it. So
isn't it ironic to see that when some singers go to Libya to have a concert, and then this country here will force them to give back money because it's considered as blood money.
Yeah.
But why is that some of this the firm the lobbyists for firms in DC K Street, why is that they get away with this?
Well, they try to the Foreign Agents Registration Act, FARA, is one of those ways they try to check and balance those individuals who do business with nefarious parts of the world and other parts of the world that are stable. There's also fears of espionage, because you can always, once you're dealing with a foreign country, they might try to exert influence that may not exactly be to the interest. So I salute the people at the United States Department of Justice, National Security Division, the FARA Division, FARA, which is what got people like Paul Manafort in trouble. And Paul Manafort, by the way, did some lobbying for Equatorial Guinea. So I was glad to do my part in making sure that he was incarcerated, as was William Jefferson, Congressman William Jefferson of Louisiana, also did business at Equatorial Guinea. He was the guy who had $90,000 found in a freezer.
Right.
And so I'm warning a lot of
this is the biggest one that you you probably will forget, Mr. Abraham.
Oh, yeah.
He did this guy received a jackpot, named $7 million from former President Bongo.
Yeah, he did. And I remember that. And let's not forget also the Riggs Bank scandal.
Yeah.
Riggs Bank involved Equatorial Guinea, and a lot of officials there. And that's why PNC, if you go to DuPont Circle, for those of you familiar in the DC area, the PNC Bank was at one time Riggs Bank. And one of the presidents was a member of the Bush family back in the day. So Riggs Bank was something that we were involved with and bringing down, and we have no problem. And we've become much more sophisticated in our techniques and methodologies of exposing, publishing, and in some cases, incarcerating those individuals who are engaging in dirty politics, dirty money, and more importantly,
money laundering.
Money laundering.
Absolutely.
Last October led to tensions as well as the arrest of dozens of opponents, but he was proclaimed the winner on November 7 despite challenges to the result from main rivals Cellou Dalein Diallo and 3 other candidates claiming ballot stuffing and other irregularities. Natural resources underexploited. Guinea, which borders Sierra Leone, Liberia, Ivory Coast, Mali, Senegal and Guinea-Bissau, is 80% Muslim but is made up of numerous ethnic groups, the main two being the Fulani and the Malinks. Slightly bigger than Britain, it sits on a wealth of natural resources.
Well, now you see that's a pretty good summary of that country.
Great summary.
Can you
our
imagine
reporter.
The amount of wealth? It's ridiculous to know that Guinea happened to be one of the poorest countries on earth.
Yeah.
And the people are poor, but these despot leaders happen to be filthy rich.
And there's a great series, and I would encourage you to go to a CNB series hosted by Scott Cohn called Filthy Rich, which details despots, whether in Equatorial Guinea, who have become so filthy rich they don't know what to do with their money. They're buying tigers to live on their properties.
Absolutely.
And so I hold, and you and I will hold, and this Gain TV, we're not going anywhere. We're getting stronger. Our audience base is getting stronger. And we will continue to speak truth to power, particularly those people who really don't have the power. These dictators, they're usually at the mercy of multinationals.
Right.
But going back to the point of these natural resources, these countries should be taking the model of Singapore.
But listen,
they can have the model. It's there. It's nothing.
Singapore, when it comes to natural resources, can even hold up to these countries.
Yeah, but I'm talking about in terms of or Kuwait.
Yeah,
all these countries.
Let's take the example of Dubai.
Yeah.
In 1960, when my country, Gabon, got its independence, Dubai and Gabon was actually similar. They in 1960, same kind of development. And Dubai happened to be in a desert, man. Desert, no water.
No water.
In Gabon, water, just like your people just drawing into their water. Like water everywhere.
Yeah.
You have oceans, you have rivers, you have So can you imagine going from 1960 when you compare Gabon to Dubai? It's just like days and nights. So when it comes to if you want to stay in power for so long, but at least do the work.
And do the work.
Do the work, do the job. You go to Dubai, everybody nowadays want to go to Dubai.
Yeah. That seems to be the matter of fact, Obiang was there recently for a hospitalization of family members. And the reality is that the people in Dubai aren't any smarter than people in Africa. They just chose to invest in their people,
right,
as opposed to invest into a select group of people at the top.
But also there's one of the most important component to this. For too long, the African people believe that the fact that the French equation into the management of our resources, have been very, very damaging as well. But if you go from a country like Guinea Conakry, that from the get-go say no to France.
Yeah.
Why is that French equation didn't affect differently Guinea Conakry, to your point?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I just think I'm gonna go back just to the era of leadership. I think for some reason when I think of the leaders of the 60s,
right,
the people, the Kwame Nkrumahs,
right,
I mean, I can't even think about it, but Kwame Nkrumah was someone who went to Lincoln University with my father.
right.
And there just seemed to be a real, I'm going to say Pan-Africanism, but there was a belief that Patrice Lumumba was another one.
Yeah.
And you saw what happened to Patrice Lumumba.
Yeah.
And so there's something to be said. I think that a lot of African leaders are spooked about the fact of truly being independent because they're afraid that their independence will be a threat to others.
Right.
But for those of us who aren't threatened, for those of us who are educated,
right,
for those of us in the know, there's power in intellectual capacity,
right,
and there's power in strategic alliances.
Mm-hmm.
We all know that we have a finite amount of time on Earth. I choose my finite time to be on the side of the people of the continent of Africa, not the leaders, the people.
So one of the things that I think is important to mention here is the fact that when Sékou Touré chose to be independent, I think that was a good move, but he has to pay a great price for it. His situation at the beginning looks like 80.
Yeah,
they have to pay the price for freedom. You want to be free, then you have to pay a price for it. And this may be the time here, and the time here to tell something to our the Western allies. Don't be a part of this
problem.
The problem.
Be part of the solution. Be a part of the solution.
Be part of the solution. Don't be the one that will go in the history as a part of the problem in Africa. No. And don't get us wrong. We're not here talking about this because we're ignorant. We know history, and we know what the West is capable of doing. And what we're asking the West, when I say West, I mean Europe and America, is to be on the good side of history. Instead of punishing good leaders, young leaders that have a great vision for Africa, please don't be friend with Mobutu or all of this despot that, in the end, history still gonna be written, and people gonna read about this, about what some of this nation, including the Western Union nation, side with despot to destroy African countries.
And a note to despots. I've been in a lot of meetings with these multinational corporations, and for all of you who think that they respect you, they mock you.
Yeah.
They make fun of you. They don't care, as long as they get their resources. So don't be under any delusions, which I know that you're not, that the folks out here in K Street or on Wall Street give a damn about you.
They don't.
Because they don't. They don't really give a damn about the African continent, but
Yeah.
they give a damn about the resources. So let's get real. Africa matters for Africans. Those outside, well, for them, it's just another opportunity to put their hand in the cookie jar, which we don't mind. But at least don't take all the damn cookies. Can you leave some cookies behind for some other people? That's all we're asking for, a fair shot. And we believe that we've earned it, and we've had the bloodshed, tyranny, and genocide to prove it. Enough is enough. As the people who are protesting and looting embassies, enough is enough.
Yeah.
And we're going to start protesting outside these multinationals in a very organized.
But what does that say to your point? I don't want you to lose that point. When people started to loot the embassies, like this new information coming from Gabon, the embassy of Cameroon, looting, but I don't know if they're Gabonese or Cameroonian.
Yeah.
And if you know Gabon, and you realize that there's some individuals, some subjects over there looting the embassy.
Embassies, yeah.
What does that tell you about the economic situation?
People are dire and desperate, and the looting will probably escalate to some form of violence. Looting itself is violent.
Yeah.
And we saw what looting happened with George Floyd. Yeah. That was a whole different thing.
But
parallel.
This is a looting coming after people demanding for justice.
Justice. And basic human rights.
But you don't want loot because you're hungry.
Yeah.
In a country where you're supposed not, in that situation. Okay. So in a rich country, poor people, and a poor population, that is a very, very bad proposition right there.
And I encourage all the Gabonese diaspora, and I know who you are, to continue to pressure the Bongo regime to step down. The Bongo regime is your family. It's time to leave. We're coming for
peacefully.
You.
Peacefully.
We'll live peacefully.
This is a time where you look what's going on in the world and say, you know what?
The trend is not in your favor.
We've done our best or our worst. Everything at the end. Let's just give back to these people, the country. Let help to organize, fair and clear election to make sure that we put this country back on track. So that democracy will flourish. And guess what? Legacy. Yeah. This is a chance where some of these people will look at history and say, you know what? I want to be on the good side of history. I want to be a part of the solution, not the problem. Yeah. But if, just like this guy, Alpha Condé, he was warned.
Yep, he's warned.
Don't do it. Don't do it. And he will continue to do it. Yeah. And, if you're insisting on that wrong path, sometimes you finish. Because there's images that you saw. Yeah. Him looking at, homeless man.
It was the same with Laurent Gbagbo years ago. They got him outside of and so I will say this again, and I'm not sure if this will be the conclusion of this.
Yeah.
But I want to warn Teodoro Obiang Nguema. It's time for you to leave.
Yeah.
It's time. You and your son and your family. You've been warned multiple times. Go to Portugal, go to Dubai, go anywhere. But you must leave the Republic of Equatorial Guinea while you still can.
Well, I think we cannot, just finish this program here without reminding people about that motto,
Help is on the way.
Absolutely.
Make sure you support Gain TV. If you like what we're doing, like us, friend us, continue to send support. We're here. We're not going anywhere. As you see, we came here on Labor Day weekend. Absolutely. And we're in studio, face to face. It's great to see my friend in person. He's radiant and as handsome as ever, contrary to what other people may think. But we're out here fighting the good fight, and we're not afraid of dictators. Absolutely. We're not afraid of them, not 1 second of any day, and they know it, and they're running from it. So, Gustavo Vela signing off.
Malik Lenzanzo. And again, help
is on the way.
Thank you guys for watching.
Be strong.